Well, hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're bringing to you a very special guest, one that I was so excited to share with you, Mr. Jack Plotnick. Now, if you haven't heard of Jack, he is the mastermind behind the Disney.
Originally called, I believe, Wonderful World of Color. Then they changed it to Wonderful World of Disney, I believe. But I don't know when they did that.
Yeah, you know what? If Dr. Disneyland Jeff was here, he would have all of those dates for
Yes.
us. But
We'll edit
that's
him in
how,
later. He can pop up and
right?
like say what are those that little paper clip? He could be the paper clip in the corner going, just so you know.
Little tidbit. He
Right.
actually literally does that in my life all the time.
We
Um,
all have that
and
friend.
I don't want to, I don't want to take the voice from you. I'd love you to share your story just straight from your lips. But I know that you have done and continue to do so much more than just these funny comedy clips in the vein of Disney. But that's how you came onto my radar. So will you just kind of tell us who you are, what you've been up to, how you got to where you're at now, and what lies ahead for you in the future?
Well, I'm thrilled to be here at Wisdom of Walt. I just love what you guys are doing. My name is Jack Plotnick. I'm an actor, a writer, director. I've been a TV film actor in Hollywood for about 30 years. And I started teaching as a hobby about 20 years ago. So that's one of my favorite hobbies. And then about 12 years ago, I got real into making my own content. I co-wrote and directed a Broadway musical called Disaster. I co-wrote and directed a Sony Pictures feature film called Space Station 76. And I got really into making content about 10 years ago because it was such a fun way to do what I love, which is to create entertainment and to act and direct and write. But I didn't have to go through the channels of, raising all the money you have to raise to do Broadway or a feature. And so that
Right.
brings us to COVID. And I was trapped in my house and looking for solace and comfort. And I would just watch video after video on YouTube about Disney, anything Disney I was watching. And
Yeah.
so, if there was a video about the 20 best foods you can order at Disneyland, France or whatever, I was watching that. Right. So I stumbled
Right.
upon one of his old episodes of The Wonderful World of Color. And I thought, wow, I look a lot like that Imagineer in the video. And so I was like, well, what if I was him? Because, as a child, I wanted to be an Imagineer. Like I was so obsessed with Disney and my family. It was kind of a magical place for my family as it is for many people. But we went a
Yeah.
bunch of times and it was sort of our happiest memories. So I found a lot of comfort in that. And so the idea of like, well, I'm going to be in this video as this Imagineer was something that really delighted me. And the video got a lot of traction, and I just kept making them, and that brings me here to today, sitting with you.
I love that. And as you were sharing your journey, I could almost just see how the dots were connected. And you touched on something that I think a lot of people can resonate with. Disney has the power to inspire and kind of plant seeds in our youth when we're very young. Some of us go right into that inspired career right away. Sometimes, if you're like me and kind of like you find yourself part of that dream years later. But sometimes it looks a lot different than what we had imagined. You thought maybe you really wanted to be an engineer and that was something that was really passionate for you, and you could kind of say you were for a little bit, and you continue to be in a very creative way, but it looks much different. And I think a lot of people out there would argue they prefer you in this kind of role as an engineer because you've been such a gift of comedy to the world. So
Oh, that means so much to me. Yes, and making these videos has been a gift to me. I think there's about 18 of them, and whenever I get word that an Imagineer or anyone that works at Disney is enjoying the videos, to me that's all the payment I ever needed is to just make those people in that world laugh and let them know how tickled we are by that world they're living in. And
yeah. Now that brings me to a question I've been dying to ask you, which is, a lot of the content that's out there is pretty, we'll call it safe, right? Like you touched on earlier, there's a lot of content that people will create about all the different lands or worlds or foods around the parks, that are all about Disney, or, the merch and, you know, really, really kind of safe topics. You took something that we could argue is like a safe topic, right? The wonderful world of Disney. And you kind of pushed the boundaries there. You pushed the envelope. Was there
I
I
can't
I
help it. It's my sense of humor.
I love it. And I think we need more of it. But like hats off to you and kudos to you for following that creative vein enough to push the envelope and do something that truthfully I don't see a lot of people doing out there. So it's a breath of fresh air. But let me ask you this. What was it that made you go, I'm going to take this, but bring my own kind of spin on it or my own sauce? And while you were doing that, were you worried about the pushback from, let's say, Disney themselves?
No, I just don't think. I think an artist's job is to just tell the truth in the moment and to share what's in your mind. And, they say if you're thinking it, a lot of other people are too. So you never have to worry too much about, well, is there anybody that will be interested in what I have to say? It's like we're all
Mhm.
one in a way. And so if it's in your mind, there's a lot of people out there who also are thinking it. And that first video I did, it was about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And there's a moment in that ride that always stuck with me as being sort of uncomfortably wrong, which
Ugh.
was that originally the ride had a scene where they had captured the women of the town and were auctioning them off to the highest bidder, which obviously and it's shocking how long that remained there and was completely normal. But, and that
Yeah,
comes with Me Too was not that long ago. And,
sure.
what else? And, Mad Men is my favorite TV show because I
Mhm.
love I'm a feminist at heart. And I love looking at how misogyny and feminism and patriarchy and how all that plays in the American story. And, there were just there's a number of episodes of The Wonderful World of Color where Disney is showing Julie Reams, who is a very beautiful woman who is going to be the mascot for Disney at the time. She was going to go around the
Mhm.
country and talk about Disneyland. And
Right.
it just felt weird. There was a lot of weird things happening under the surface. And
Mm.
so I couldn't help but, because I'm a comedian, point them out.
And you did it so well. I think the first video that I came across of yours was, I want to say it was episode 7, where it was or it was 9, the Carousel of Progress.
Well, that's a
Oh
wild
my God.
one to jump into because that's when things really start going insane.
Oh my God. Like, I think I alone have watched that just in the past 2 weeks at least 50 times. I have sent it to everyone I can possibly think of. And every time I watch it, I catch something that I didn't see the first time around. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin.
I'm
I
delighted. Anywhere, start anywhere. This is fascinating to me.
Oh my God. So for our listeners and viewers who haven't seen it, and I'm going to do a horrible job at explaining it. So I'll let you do a better job here in a second.
Well,
But
and I'll catch them up to what's happened up until episode 7, and that is that each episode tended to focus on one ride, whether it's the Haunted Mansion or the Plaza Restaurant, and you started to get to meet different Imagineers who are working on those, and everything up until then was pretty straightforward. There would be some jokes, and but this episode is crazy.
like, I was like, what kind of fever dream? As soon as you brought out the lasers, I was like, I'm done. And then you have Homewrecker. Is it Homewrecker Harriet?
Yeah, Harriet the
Oh,
Homewrecker. Yeah,
Harriet
it's
the homewrecker. I'm just dying. I mean, you've got these ladies are smoking off to the side. You've got these little like innuendos. You've got, is it Harriet that's going off in this mental fantasy about
Yes,
father,
Harriet's the one
part
who
of
she keeps going into these dreamlike states where she imagines herself dancing around them. Before you make a ride, they would make I don't know what it was called, maybe a miniature they called it, but you'd make a model of the ride, and so she would
right.
and at the episode she began having these dreams where she would enter the miniature and sing a Disney song about her growing crush on Walt or on some of
Sure.
the other Imagineers there, and so this is another one of those. And the Carousel of Progress was always one of my favorite rides. So I was thrilled to get to enter that world. And that's in a
Yeah.
way what I was doing was entering the world of that moment that show took place. And so I love when you mentioned that it was interesting interesting when the ladies went off to a corner and smoked, and they're standing backstage. And for me, it feels like I'm entering 1964, and I'm getting to. It's like there's a scene in Blade Runner where there's a photo, and he uses a machine to enter that photo and then make a left and see things that aren't even in the photo, but that somehow the futuristic technology of the time caught that whole world in that moment. And that's another way of describing, hopefully, what you feel when you watch the videos is that feeling of entering maybe a video you've seen many times on YouTube, but all of a sudden you're making a left and you're going to a room
Right.
you've never seen and meeting somebody who is next door and what they're doing at that moment in time.
And Jack, that's exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. As a viewer, not knowing your backstory, right? And just an authentic, initial viewer of your content, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like I got to go even further into something that here at the Wisdom of Walt, like that's what we do, right? I've seen all of those videos and all the footage that you've shared. So that was not new. But what you did to it invited me into a space that I didn't know existed. And quite frankly, I didn't know I needed. It was such salve to my soul, and it just got me looking at everything differently. And you did what the Imagineers and Walt Disney did so well in constructing Disneyland, which is laying out this series of shots, if you will, of movie shots. And as a producer, that's probably why this comes naturally to you, is as you look at each unique area moving all the way through down Main Street and towards, the hub and the different lands, they're controlling the view of which the guest experiences the world around them. And you did that so beautifully. Even at the end with the gal who, and I forgive me, I forgot her name.
I can barely keep the name straight, but you might be thinking of Agnes, who lost her purse.
Yes, was that actually the name of the gal who
Oh, that's
passed
not
away?
Agnes, sorry. The woman who loses the purse in her shoot. There's a lot of women I play in these videos.
I know. I'm gonna have to go back and I'll put that in to make sure we have it, because now I just feel horrible. But when you portrayed that, I was shocked. I was like, uh-oh. But that goes back to, like, I think sometimes our conditioning of, we've been told where the line is for so long, I think, on so many things. And it takes a brave person. It often takes an artist that's willing to kind of say, you know what? I don't know if that's really where the line is for me. And you kind of step over that. But I think you did it in a very artistic, tasteful way.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And yes, I do have a dark sense of humor, but I also wanted to make sure that I didn't show anything that could be shocking.
Sure.
What happens is that the character, she gets hurt in an accident with the revolving carousel set, which actually happened in real life. And so
Right.
I have a nod to that tragic day when that a girl was. This was when the show was called, I think, America Sings. It wasn't Carousel of Progress at the time, but one of the um, Disneyland employees was crushed by the moving wall, and I think that
Yeah.
happened in the early '60s. But anyway, so yes, I reference it in the video.
Yes, and I just wanted just to make sure that we do our due diligence. It was in fact during America Sings on July 8th. Oh, coming up on July 8th, 1974. She was 18 years old. Cast member Deborah or Debbie Gale Stone sadly was crushed with the interior walls. So
It's
just to pay her
it's
respects.
tragic.
But
It's tragic. I think
it
enough
is,
there
but I
that I could poke a little fun.
yes, I agree. I agree. And I
And
think
it's
that
not her dying in the video, it's an Imagineer who is very annoying. And you come to find
bingo.
out later, maybe no one died at all.
Spoilers.
I don't
But
wanna
I
give away
think that
anything.
that yeah, that I think is the secret to, successful comedy, is you kind of know how to do that eloquently. You can tell stories of sadness, but put a humorous spin on it, and it doesn't mean that we're not respecting or having respect for a tragedy that took place, but it's also saying, "You know what? But I'm not gonna let that be the narrator. I'm not gonna let that sadness be the definitive emotion here for your audience." So I think that was just so beautifully done. I'm going to have to go back on a deep dive and look at all of the other episodes and just try to see the nuances and the connections. Like, my
Well, I mean, I
goodness.
didn't leave it there. In the following, maybe 2 episodes later, the ladies go to Disneyland, and, the subject of Disneyland deaths comes up, and they really get into the history of of what that was,
I
because
can't wait.
people, have, it's this is 30 years, 40 years, and people died at Disneyland. But there is a fascinating story where, I mean, it's a corporation too, and they need to find ways to deal with the publicity around a death at at a theme park. So I deal with that in maybe episode 9.
I love
It's
Oh
an
my
interesting
gracious.
topic.
So if can you pick one of the episodes that because for me I'm naturally going to the one about the carousel of progress that you feel was just the most complex from a creative standpoint, one that maybe took a lot longer than you thought? Like how
Well, I'll
long would an episode like that take you? My
well,
gosh.
they were easier at the beginning because I tended to play no more than 3 people, pardon me. And I would say that the first time they started to get a little more complex is I think it's the 4th episode. It's about the Tiki Room birds. And it's the first
Mm,
episode where you meet most all of the ladies. And there's a moment in that scene where you've got about 7 or 8 women standing in a circle like a coffee clutch talking about what new rides are being considered. And
yeah.
Mary Blair says they've got a ride, it moves people. They go, "Oh, what's it called?" She goes, "I don't know." But anyway, so that was the first time I had to really go, "Oh, this is getting tricky," because I have to really keep track of where my eyes are to tell the story of all these different women.
Right.
But then later, they get what starts off as seemingly just a comedic series. You find out is actually a mystery thriller. And then I start
Mm,
footage from other movies such as Coma or the soundtrack to Invasion of the Body Snatchers and all the Westworld. And so yes, those later episodes, it's definitely, they just got harder and harder with each episode because I have more sets. I had to tell us an adventure story instead of just a comedy where people can just say funny things. It became, a chase, from room to room, and will she outrun them before they shoot her dead, and all this stuff. So
right.
yeah, definitely they did get harder and harder. And then the last episode has shots of where it cuts to now a year later, and they're all in Orlando, Florida, working on building the new park, the Kingdom. And there was
Mm,
a shot in that where I just decided I'm going to show everyone in one shot. And so yeah, I guess probably that was the hardest shot, was just getting all the characters in one room in a wide shot, showing them busy working down in
right.
Florida. And yeah. But it was a lot of fun. I did it all with iMovie. I'm not a Final Cut Pro. I'm not a real editor. I just stuck with the things that
Wow.
iMovie can do easily.
Yeah, that inspires me personally because all of this, everything that you see is about 10 months in the making. And, I'm an English teacher throughout most of the year. And then this is the dream that I do on the side. But I am just kind of learning as I go and I get really good at what I'm comfortable with. And then I venture out a little bit and bring in new skills, slowly as I master those, then you progress forward. But I love that that's in line with not waiting until you've mastered something to just do it anyway. And COVID, I think, was this weird anomaly, this weird space and time where I think we kind of allowed ourselves to branch out and do things that no one in their right mind would have ever thought we would be doing. For me, I was multi-level marketing makeup sales and going online and doing like live makeup tutorials and like whatever the hell that was. But you picked up your camera and you got creative, and here we are years later still talking about it because it's just so entertaining.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Is this stuff that you just do out of your house? Do you have another like warehouse or a studio that you build everything? Is this a team thing or
There's no set, it's all green screen. And so I filmed the entire thing right here in my dining room, in front of a green screen. And yeah, so
that's
there's no shot in any of it where I'm not just standing in my dining room. And there's some behind the
oh
scenes
my
you can see on my Instagram, and you can see
yeah.
kind of what that looks like when I'm filming it. So I love that. If any of it started to trick your brain into thinking that it cost anything, or that I was ever not standing where my dining room table is, which I pushed aside, that
Yeah.
really That's me.
My gracious. Well, yeah, job well done because here I am over here in Vegas thinking, man, this guy is like erecting. Like, I knew you didn't do full on, theatrical sets, but I thought you at least had some components that you built as like a 3D replica, like as an overlay to what was going on the green screen. But no, you're just that dang good. Man, I got to
Thank
step
you.
up my game here.
Well, I love what you said about how you can't wait till it's perfect, because truly
Yeah.
that's the trick to making any art, is to say, look, I release and destroy my need for this to be perfect. And also you just gotta remember that perfect isn't really even attractive. It just looks overworked and like needy. And so I just would tell myself it's gonna be what it is, and it'll be good enough. And the fact that it's done, there's a line in it where Mary Blair says, "Done is better than good." And
Mm,
that's just a message to artists, that like just do it. Don't wait till you're ready, because you will never feel ready. Don't wait till you want to do it. You may never really want to do it. It's a lot of work to make art, but you feel so good afterwards.
you do. There's such a payoff. And you touched on this earlier. Some of my biggest payoffs that I've had in my artistic journey doing this, and what I'm pretty sure you resonate with, is that while the financial side of it is fantastic, and while there are bills that need to be paid, the payback that we get when you see at least one other person value, appreciate, and truly find joy because of something that you've created, there is no feeling in the world quite like that.
That's beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we
I
need
mean,
more
when
of that.
an artist moves energy and creates from love, and it reminds other people what love is, and it reminds people that they can do anything. You
Yeah.
can do whatever your
Well,
heart desires.
yeah, absolutely. And, Walt Disney, to take it back to him before we wrap up, he was a leader in just about everything that he designed and created. It wasn't like there was just manufactured, Disneylands out there that he would model from, or nor did he wait until he had all the answers to get started and break ground. And within a year, he did the impossible and he continued to do the impossible, but he didn't wait for permission. In fact, a lot of people told him no. A lot of people told him he was crazy. I love the story, and I learned this more when I was watching the recent handcrafted documentary by Leslie Iwerks, that he wasn't able to even read his design plans for quite some time. And then he had to go learn how to read blueprints so that he could have dialogue with his designers and his construction crew. But he didn't wait to go get a degree in engineering or go wait and get this credential. And I think our society gets confused and we feel like, okay, well, I need to have this credential to become a successful communicator and public speaker, or I need to have this many accolades on Hollywood before I'm going to be taken seriously, in the industry. And
Yeah,
no, while we're sitting around waiting to like
yeah.
get ready to make our dreams come true, other people are already making their dreams come true, right? So we
Absolutely,
got to
and what
just
I
get up
tell
and do it.
myself is I release and destroy my need to be an actor. I'm not an actor. I'm just here to play, and that can go with anything. I release and destroy my need to be a real artist. I'll let those
Mm,
other painters have gone to all the correct classes and studied under all the right
mm.
teachers. I'm not a painter. I'm just here to play on this canvas and to make art today, and for the sole purpose of getting the opportunity to make art and commune with the magic of art. And so yeah, and I'm a big believer in speaking to yourself in ways that take pressure off and focus you on love. Yeah.
I couldn't have said that better myself. And what a reminder, a timely reminder that we need right now, in our society, in this country, in our world. What a breath of fresh air you are, and I can't wait to see what's coming. You just did something really cool, though. You just had a premiere, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yes,
Uh,
when I'm not making my own stuff, I do love to make other people's stuff, and I shot a film opposite Rachel Dratch called Love's Company, and that premiered last weekend here in LA, and it's premiering this weekend up in San Francisco. And so hopefully they
nice.
will sell it to a distributor, which is what happens with independent films, is you try to sell
Okay.
it to a distributor so that then people can watch it online. So we'll see, fingers crossed. It's very
Fingers crossed.
yeah.
How long does that that process kind of take? Like, when will you know whether or not it's going to be picked up? Or is it like, could it be a couple months? Could it be a couple
At this
years?
point, now that it took some time for it to enter festivals, but now that it's actually showing, I should know within a few months whether or not it sells and whether the public can see it. So
I
I'm
love it.
hoping. And
Well, I
the
watched the
musical I
clip and
wrote
it was
the musical I wrote with
brilliant.
my best friend Seth Rudetsky, it's called Disaster, and it's a disaster movie musical with all hit songs from the '70s. So all your favorite songs from the '70s. So if you're out there and you have a theater or a community theater or a high school, college theater, you can do my musical. All the info is online.
Wow.
And my movie that I mentioned, Space Station 76, which is set in a 1970s version of the future on a space station out in space. That's playing right now for free on Tubi, Tubi. So if you're curious, that stars Patrick Wilson from the Conjuring movies and Matt Bomer,
Mhm.
Liv Tyler, Jerry O'Connell. So if you're curious to see what a feature film by me looks like, that's Space Station 76 on
I
Tubi.
think I'm going to have to block out the rest of my month of June just to get all of
Shouldn't take
your.
that long.
No, I can't
Mhm.
wait. Well, now I have to go back and rewatch all of your Wonderful World of Disney
Thank
ones
you.
too, and be like, wait a minute,
The
that's in his
Disney
living room.
videos the Disney videos are
Oh,
on my Instagram if you wanna see them vertical, which I actually now I prefer that. I really love them done vertically, and then my Instagram is my name, Jack Plotnick, and then you can see them in the original horizontal feature film version on my YouTube, which is also just my name.
love it. And we'll make sure that we provide all of your links so that all of our viewers can stay up to date with you, look into
I
your
appreciate that.
films.
And if you like any
Yeah.
of the things I said, any of my, I call them affirmations, you can read my free book. It's all free on my website, jackplotney.com. The book is called New Thoughts for Actors, but actually the first
Mm.
chapters are for anyone who wants to get over their habit of negative self-talk and wants to embrace get control of their thoughts and embrace a loving approach to life. So that's all to read for free. It's my honor to give what I've learned in my life to people who are searching for that.
Can't thank you enough just on behalf of everybody for that gift. And we genuinely, truthfully need more people just like you, Jack. So thank you for
Oh,
helping to
thank you,
keep the magic
Kristen. This has
alive.
been
And
so fun. Thank you.
oh, absolutely. Thank you for carving out some of your very busy, comedic filled life to hang out with little old me. I can't thank you enough. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us again for another week here on the Wisdom of Walt podcast. And we will see you real soon.
Bye bye. Take care.